Kathy Griffith,
Here.
Terry Kavner,
Here.
David Roberts,
Here.
Mark Ham,
Here.
Glenn Lewis.
Here. Would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Item 2 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held January 7th, 2013. Item B is accept the minutes of the Parks Board meeting held October 2nd, 2012, November 6th, 2012, and December 4th, 2012. Item C is accept a 15-foot utility easement in Lot 5, Block 1 of the Santa Fe Commercial Park Phase 3 Edition and a 10-foot utility easement in Lot 1, Block 1 of the Santa Fe Commercial Park Phase 3 Edition located south of Southwest 4th Street and east of Santa Fe for a public water line extension. Item D is accept sanitary sewer, water, and drainage improvements for the Brentwood Edition located south of Northeast 27th Street and west of Eastern Avenue. Item E is accept public water improvements for the Fritz Farm Edition located south of Southwest 19th Street and west of Fritz Boulevard. Item F is accept public sanitary sewer improvements for the Riverwalk Edition, Section 14, located north of Southwest 34th Street and east of Telephone Road. Excuse me. Item G is accept public sanitary sewer improvements for Crystal Crossing Edition, located south of Southwest 19th and east of Crystal Drive. Item H is accept public sanitary sewer improvements for Royal Rock Edition, Sections 2, 3, and 4, located north of Southwest 19th Street and west of Telephone Road. Item I is declare a 2004 Ford Crown Victoria VIN number 2FAFP71W84X162456 and a 2004 Crown Victoria. I'm going to skip that VIN number. Also another 2004 Crown Vic VIN number, I don't know, and a 2006 Ford Crown Victoria as surplus.
The VIN numbers are there for the record.
Yes. Anybody wants them, I have a copy. Okay, and J is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2002, 13, in the amount of $1,438,970.39.
Move to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on these items? If not, would you call for the vote, please?
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 3 is consider awarding bid number 1213-05, purchase of hydraulic rescue tool system and high-pressure airbag system for the City of Moore Fire Department to Chief Fire and Safety in the amount of $31,335.75.
Mayor and council, this is a budgeted item in our budget this year. This is the rescue tool that go on ladder 1 at station 1. This is basically the same rescue tool that we've purchased from them before, and we've had real good luck with them. Very, very low maintenance or any issues with them.
Okay.
Any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Could you tell me just briefly what that tool?
That's the Jaws of Life belongs to Hurstville, but that's basically just Jaws of Life. That's just a different brand.
Thank you.
How many of these do we have now? Would this be the third one?
This will be number 6.
Number 6.
It's one on all of our frontline rescue units.
I know, I
all of our
see them going
frontline
down the
units.
interstate quite a bit and apparently use them quite a bit now.
That's the reason we need this one, because the way we rotate ladder 1 and engine 1 out, sometimes ladder 1 will be called and it doesn't have the tool at this time, so then we have to call for a backup engine when we get there.
Sounds good. Do you have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion on this item? Like I said, it is a budgeted item, so would you call for the vote, please?
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is discuss amending the city ordinance regulating the location and size of outbuildings in residential areas of the community and direct staff as appropriate.
Mayor,
we put this on there just as it says for you all to have a discussion about this. Generally, there was a outbuilding that was built up in Highland Park Addition recently that some could argue that's oversized for the lot and for the neighborhood and not overly attractive with regard to the size of the thing. And so just put the item on there for you all to discuss this. The information there on page 77 is some language that we had just kind of put together at one point in an attempt to start the discussion. Essentially, the way the ordinance reads now on residential lots, that there's no size limit other than it can't cover more than 20% of the rear yard of the lot. And some of these lots out there are pretty good sized, and so that's how we get some of these buildings that are oversized for at least from an appearance perspective of the house and of the neighborhood. There's also not a height limit other than the standard 35-foot height limit that's in the R1 residential zoning district category. So that's sort of the discussion starting point.
I would just have a few comments for the council. I had a call, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago in reference to the particular building, and they said I couldn't miss it. I drove over there, and they were right. You can't miss it. It's a 2-story corrugated metal building that just doesn't fit in that neighborhood. I know we have some additions. I think the Lost Creek addition allows for those types of buildings to be built that you can park an RV in, or cars, or even have a workshop. In my mind, when I think of a storage shed or an outbuilding, I think of something I put my lawnmower in, or just miscellaneous stuff, not a 500, 700 square foot building, especially a 2-story building. And if you did happen to live by that, it's definitely going to obstruct your view, and it's just not what I would expect to see come to a neighborhood. So I would really like for us to try to come up with something where we could prevent things like that happening in the future.
I think we need a height limit. When you do a height limit, then you actually limit the square footage that most people would build. And also, if you're gonna build it more than so many square feet, we ought to require it bricked. Match the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
I'd be curious what the cities around us are doing.
We're one of the few that don't charge for a building permit fee.
If they're required to get a building permit, there's a small charge for a accessory building permit, but we don't require building permits for portable buildings that are on skids.
That's correct.
That are not tied into any utilities or that sort of thing. The building you're talking about is obviously not that. There's a lot of little buildings to put your lawnmowers in and this and that are really truly portable buildings that we don't require a building permit for. But that's not the kind of building we're really talking about here.
The other thing is, we have some people that have 3 and 4 and 5 of these outside buildings in the backyard. And it's like, that's a little much.
Yeah, I agree.
So, not to mention being able to put 2 big RVs in one of them. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
Well, I was requested by the city manager to find out what Norman and Oklahoma City did about situations like these, and I did find a lot of good information. Both of the cities do limit the height of the building, of any accessory building. And in Oklahoma City's case, they do limit the height not to exceed the height of the primary structure on the lot. So if you would have a 2-story house on the lot, by this definition, you would also have a 2-story, or may be able to have a 2-story accessory structure. The other thing that they do require is that the maximum overhead door height should not exceed 9 feet. That the detached accessory building shall be located behind the rear wall of the main structure on the property. That would help, I think, a lot with people noticing a structure that is usually metal. As far as Norman goes, they're a little bit less specific on what their requirements are. They do have several requirements that would naturally restrict the amount of outbuildings that a person would want to have on their property. They have a coverage requirement that no more than 40% of the area can be covered by buildings. Then they also have an impervious area requirement where no more than 65% of the lot can be covered with impervious surface. That would include buildings and concrete. And then again, Norman also has the height requirement where the accessory building should not exceed a wall height of 10 feet. You can go higher, but then you are required to set the building back 1 foot for every 1 foot of height that you go up. And then it does have an overall not to exceed height, which is do not exceed the height of the principal building of the lot. So I think that there are some commonalities between the two cities, especially in regards to height of the building.
Or do some of the neighborhoods have homeowner associations or neighborhood covenants? Do we know what their stipulations are, what their wording might be?
Most all, or all of the newer additions around town have covenants that restrict or regulate these kind of buildings. This city doesn't enforce covenants, so, you know, you may know what's in yours, or you all may know what's in yours, but specifically, we don't know what any particular subdivision covenant is gonna say. We don't. I mean, we can look it up, but we can't enforce it if we needed to.
Well, and once you get into, and a lot of the HOAs will be similar. Problem is you get some HOAs that won't enforce it in their HOA, which still hurts us. So I think some city guidelines would be good. And I like Norman's height much better than I do Oklahoma City's, from what you just read.
I do too. I don't wanna see two-story amount of buildings in the backyard.
Storage building, no.
Absolutely.
That's like a commercial building.
I think at some point in time, particularly when you get into the bigger ones, that the exterior material ought to match that of the residence.
Yeah, and most of your newer HOAs, it will, you know, the exterior has to be the same, the roof pitch has to be the same, roof materials have to be the same. So it basically matches the house. And I'm sure some of these neighborhoods that probably isn't necessary, but it's not a bad thing.
I think the unique problem with the building that we're talking about is it's sitting on a corner lot. And it's not like it's in a backyard, you know, where nobody can see it. It's on a corner lot, and it is imposing to anybody that drives past there or lives in that area. So there's nothing, I don't think, that can be done about it now. It's kind of like shutting the door of the horses out, but I'd like to see, make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I also like Norman's impervious percentages or whatever that was, because you can get just too much coverage in the yard. And that eliminates some other water issues and some things on the neighbors and some things, as well as the looks.
Drainage.
But
So, where do we go?
Well, we'll draft an ordinance based on what we think our understanding is, but I'm hearing a limit on the height, essentially to a one-story
Right.
building, no matter what size it is. Are we talking about a specific limit, like it's on this proposal of the square footage, or? We like to try to keep these kinds of ordinances as simple to enforce as possible, because when we do this, as soon as we do it, the next day, there's gonna be an application for a building that doesn't comply. I can promise you. And that probably wouldn't be a bad situation for that given lot. But then again, we don't wanna make it so loose that it's open to very subjective interpretation. It needs to say in the ordinance what we want.
Well, if you go bigger than a 14 by 10 foot building, I think it should have the exterior covered to match the house. I mean, that's about as big a portable building as you can get. It's on a trailer that they can put in your backyard. Anything else, you're gonna have to pour pour cement and have it built there.
If you brick it all the way around though, that's gonna be cost prohibitive, but if you just brick the side that faces the street, I mean, that's great for people passing up and down the street, but then the neighbors all the way around get to see the metal building part. And I'd like to see it, eliminated to just single stories. If someone's got a two-story house and someone has a one-story house, the two-story house owner shouldn't be able to put a two-story building if the one-story owner can't.
I agree.
Okay, you guys work on it.
We will, well, I
Good
think we
luck.
have a pretty good idea what you want. Again, just warning you that, some of these things are going to be aesthetic requirements. It's not difficult to put down on a piece of paper, but they're difficult to enforce sometimes. And oftentimes these buildings, not oftentimes, but occasionally these buildings will go up without a permit even. We've had that happen, over time. Again, the Board of Adjustment is the way to go for a variance if you all decide that it needs to have, you know, a wainscot or brick up 4 feet or whatever, just anything that you put there. Particularly in the areas, the older areas of town, where there's no covenants and that sort of thing, it'll be difficult, to do.
We require it though on the interstate already on commercial buildings.
Yes.
That we go 4 feet with brick, so you should do at least the same thing in the neighborhoods for the neighbors that live there, I would
I
think.
think on the interstate, we have more like, what, 75% brick or something like that, so we can do a percentage of brick. And they can put it all on one side or,
And probably that needs to kick in after, at a certain point, you know, somebody building a 120-foot, square
Yeah.
foot,
10 by 10 building
Yeah.
or 10 by
But
15
when you
building.
get
Yes.
up to, say,
It's a normal
300
building.
feet or 400 feet or something like that, then you've got a different kind of a structure. And, that's where those aesthetic, qualities should kick in.
Maybe we should do
If
it.
you wanna build a bigger building up to a maximum size, you've got to make it look better.
Yeah.
Or if you pour a foundation for it, how about that? Because a regular portable building that you buy is usually on skids, it's not on a permanent foundation. If you put it in permanent foundation, then you ought to have to make it look good. Because it's there permanently,
But you get up to around 300 feet, you've got a pretty good size building.
yeah.
And, that's where they start, showing up, beyond the backyard.
I think if you, the building that I was referring to up in Highland Park, if anybody has seen that, it's just obvious it shouldn't be there. And,
It's taller than the house.
yeah, it's, shouldn't be there. And if, you know, if they're gonna build something similar to that, not a two-story, and that should match the home, because I believe that, it wasn't like 500 square feet, that building, or was it 700? I can't remember. 700 square foot storage building.
Again, we can limit though the size of buildings in these neighborhoods. We can limit that to 200, 300, 400 feet, whatever. What would be the size of a typical 2-car garage?
400 and something feet.
400.
500 square feet.
So limit it to that amount or something like that. Because a lot of people build these buildings for a 2-car garage, so. I think we have a good feel for it.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. Item number 5 is consider approval of an amendment to the Veolia Operation and Maintenance Services Agreement, extending the term of the contract to December the 9th, 2013.
Mayor, this essentially is a housekeeping matter, but it is an extension of the contract for Veolia. We extended this contract with them about 2 years or 2.5 years ago or so to December, this past December. At that time, thinking that the treatment plant would be complete and that the startup would be over with and that everything would be done with the treatment plant, to where then at that point, it was the council's wish, and it's still my understanding that it is the council's wish to go out and solicit proposals for contractors, and whoever we then hire, we would enter into a long-term agreement. Due to the delays with the treatment plant, I don't want to see us change operators if that were to be a possibility in midstream with the treatment plant. So I'm asking you to extend their contract for one more year under the current terms of the agreement. We're going to have a full report on the treatment plant at the next council meeting, including people from Wind here to talk to you and answer your questions as far as the completion date of the plant, which is now, they're telling me to get the plant operational anyway, April 25th. So,
Should we table this till April, to the next meeting?
no, I mean, Wind's over here and Veolia's over here. We need the operating contract
But
with
it
Veolia.
stinks all up and down through there.
One doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the other one, but we need to have them under contract just for legal reasons.
Why?
You don't normally have work with a company that you're paying millions of dollars to annually without a contract.
But on that contract, it's automatically extended every 30 days if we don't do it. Isn't that right, Randy?
Been a long time since I've looked at that.
I'm pretty sure it is. It's automatically extended if it's not voted on for the, any time to either terminate it or what. There's a 90-day notice clause in if we terminate it. I believe it extends itself every 30 days if you don't approve it.
Agree with the termination clause, and those notice provisions. I can't completely agree on the automatic renewals for 30 days.
Oh, long did it. I'm sure it's in there. So,
I don't have a problem extending,
Yeah, it's
extending
fine.
until December.
okay, you'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make
Okay.
a motion.
Second?
All right,
Please
thank
do.
you. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Thank
Just
you.
call for the vote, please.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes?
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, we'll extend it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Item number 6 is consider approval of a change order in the amount of $31,138.82 to Stoltz Communications on bid number 112-008-A, rebid for purchase of a new two-way radio system and waive competitive bidding pursuant to section 7-205 of the Moore Municipal Code for $4,777.50 of the change order amount.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What we're dealing with here is the new city radios system for the public works, utilities, the city government, the non-public safety side. We've already issued the purchase order and so on for the various equipment for that. In visiting with the vendor on how we were going to actually program some radios, some things came up that because of some of the options that we wished, we were going to lose one of our voice channels. This was going to cause some issues in our operations. The vendor suggested that the equipment was already capable of operating in a different mode, which would not only solve those problems, but would probably be far more efficient overall. To accommodate that, we need to purchase a controller and a system key, which is the 4700 figure, and then we will no longer, the original plan was we were going to reuse and reprogram some of their existing radios for this new system. With moving to this new mode, we're unable to do that, so we need to go ahead and purchase radios for those, and that's what these are. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do we need to get a new, our own repeater tower for that 800 megahertz system?
For the city's side, or for the public works side, we will actually have that.
Okay.
It'll be a 4.
That'll be in the new building when it's done?
No. We're putting it on top of the 19th Street water tower.
Okay.
Much higher that way.
So we don't have that yet, but we're working towards it.
Yeah, it's all, that part of it's already all on order. We just need to, what we're going to
He's
do
talking
instead
about
of,
the public safety though.
yeah, for public safety, completely different thing.
Okay. So, all right. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve?
All right, thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? No? Vote, please.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes,
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Galen. Item number 7 is consider adoption of resolution number 75613 of the City Council of the City of Moore, Oklahoma, approving the incurrence of indebtedness by the Moore Economic Development Authority, the authority, in the aggregate of principal amount not to exceed $2 million in connection with the issuance of its sales tax revenue note, Series 2013 Parks and Recreational Facilities Project. The note providing that the declaration of trust as amended creating the authority is subject to the provisions of the general indenture as supplemented and amended, authorizing the issuance of said note, waiving competitive bidding, and approving proceedings of the authority pertaining to the sale of said note, approving a security agreement between the city and the authority pertaining to the deposits and transfer of sales tax revenue and certain other provisions relating thereto.
Chris Cochran, BOSC, is here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Eady. It's good to be here. We're obviously asking you to approve a resolution which will allow us to go forward with the sales tax note tonight. But to do that, we need to select a financial institution. So I have results from a bid that extended until today at 2 p.m. and I would like to share those results with you. But before I do that, I want to take 30 seconds and give you just kind of remind you of kind of how we got to where we are today as it relates to this note. As you all fondly remember, in November, the sales tax election was approved for the parks projects. If you'll remember, the sales tax revenue for that do not start until April, and you all won't begin receiving your first monies until June. And so you're not going to accumulate any significant money for a period much later than June. So in order to allow you to begin with these projects, we were asked to put together a note package. And so on January 10th, my firm sent out a request for a bid from about 12 different banks in the area. All of the local banks were asked to bid, as were some of the state and national banks that we know just from experience are interested in this kind of thing. You got 5 bids today, and they are stunningly good bids in my opinion. So with that, I'm going to pass them out and we can discuss them.
Thank you, sir.
very much.
All right, you can see that we had 5 bids that we received. 4 of those bids confirmed with the bid specifications that we sent out. 1 did not, and I'll go into more detail about that in just a moment. I'm sure you all can read, but for the benefit of the people that don't have this in front of them, I will real quickly relay the results. F&B Community Bank out of Midwest City, that's First National Bank Midwest City, bid an interest rate for this $2 million loan of 1.75%. Republic Bank of Norman bid 1.89%. Bank of America, bidding out of their Oklahoma City office, bid 2.02. And First United Bank of Durant bid 2.67. The non-confirming bid was a bid from J.P. Morgan out of their Oklahoma City office. It was 1.41. And I wanted to discuss with you the issues that were a part of their bid. We sent out what was about a 15-page bid package, and it essentially sets the rules of the game. It essentially tells the bidders what we're looking for in our bid, when we want to pay it back, how we want them to calculate interest, all of the various things that they need to know. In addition, we require them to provide with their bid a signed bid form. And so the J.P. Morgan bid did not conform, because they neither provided a sealed official bid And they also made an assumption that was in direct contradiction to one of the assumptions that we had in our bid package. We had asked the final maturity, this is obviously a relatively small, short maturity note. It is set to mature in July of 2015. What we asked the bidders to do is provide their bid assuming what I call a bullet maturity, no amortization of that loan because it was so short. JP Morgan decided to bid assuming an amortizing note. And so that allowed them to lower the weighted average maturity of their loan. It's a long way of saying it was a very good bid from JP Morgan. As your financial advisor, I believe you have the authority to make whatever decision you'd like as it relates to that bid. As your financial advisor, I would recommend that we disqualify the non-conforming bid. The reason for that is I believe if we do not disqualify that bid, I believe the other bidders might have an argument that if they would have bid using the same set of circumstances that the other guy did, then perhaps their bids would have been different. So for that reason, I recommend that the council award to the lowest conforming bid, which is F&B Community Bank. I'll be quiet now and be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I like that because they have an office here.
They have a
Tammy.
branch here.
I agree with what you said. I mean,
We specifically made sure that all of our local banks were involved with this. There was some interest, or quite a bit of interest, from some of the banks here in town. We don't always get to do business with our local banks. This was a size of a note that our local banks could participate in, or at least some of them submitted a bid. And I thought it was important, I talked to Chris this afternoon, I thought it was important that we played by the rules that we've established. And that was, as Chris explained, what JP Morgan didn't do. Chris talked to them, told them that do you know your bid is not in conformance with what we asked for, and they said, yeah, we do, and that's our bid. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, thank you I forgot, I should have mentioned that. They were one of the first submitters, so their bid we had, I believe, by like 11 o'clock, 11:30, before we had many of these others. And we noticed right away that it wasn't conforming. And in my opinion, they had 2 hours to provide a conforming bid if they would have chosen to.
Okay. We have a couple of school teachers up here. They'll tell you, you gotta follow the rules and you gotta read the instructions. So, otherwise you don't get a chance. Okay, Randy, I have to ask you the question, is it all legal?
Yeah, we discussed this.
Okay,
Not the same.
all right. Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the adoption of this resolution.
All right, thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? It's exciting, it's low interest. So we can do our construction projects and be ahead of the curve, I think, because our interest rate's much lower than the price of materials that's going up.
Exactly. One other thing I'd like to mention, I was talking to Terry, we believe, of course, it's a little bit dependent on F&B, how quickly they're willing to negotiate documents with us and finalize those, but we believe, let's just say somewhere between 1 and 2 weeks from now, you'll be in a position to have that money in hand.
That's great. All right.
Jeff Arbin, by the way, is our branch manager of our local FNB bank here in Moore. Jeff, thank you for that good interest rate.
Yes, we
Jeff's also
appreciate it.
on the Parks Board, so he's local guy, more graduate, local business, local bank, helping do these local parks projects. So thank you.
We appreciate it.
One last thing to mention, Mayor, what was so great about the rates are great, but this is not federally tax exempt. It's state tax exempt, but given the amount of GOs we're gonna do this calendar year, y'all are familiar with the $10 million limit we have. In 2009, 2010, under the ERA legislation, it was bumped from 10 million to 30 million, but that expired at the end of 2010. There's a bill pending in Congress that would raise it back to 30 million, which we wish they would, but we're subject to the $10 million cap for it to be bank qualified. And so, given we are issuing the $3,675,000 the last phase of 2008 GO bonds. And it's my understanding we're going to do the first phase of what was voted in November of that GO bond issue sometime in the first half of this year. That will put us at the $10 million limit, so this had to be done on a taxable basis. And so that's a great rate considering it's not even tax exempt. So
That's good.
it is state tax exempt, but not federal tax exempt.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we'll recess the city council meeting and convene the Moore Public Works Authority meeting. Item number 8 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Public Works Authority meeting held January the 7th, 2013. Item B is ratify actions of the city council on approval of an amendment to the Viela Operations and Maintenance Services Agreement extending the term of the contract to December the 9th, 2013. Item C is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for 2012-2013 in the amount of $495,308.11.
Move to approve?
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Thanks, both. We have a motion and a second. Any claims, questions, or any notes or changes to the minutes? If not, would you call for the vote?
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we'll recess the Moore Public Works Authority meeting and convene the Moore Risk Management meeting. Item number 9 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Risk Management meeting held January 7th, 2013. Item B is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for 2012-2013 in the amount of $176,609.73.
Make a motion to approve?
All right, thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any notes or changes to the minutes or any claims questions on these? If not, we have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we'll recess the Moore Risk Management meeting and convene the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting.
Item 10 is roll call. Would you call the roll, please?
Glenn Lewis,
Here.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark
Here.
Ham,
Here.
Robert Kraus, Jason Blair,
Here.
Kathy Griffith,
Here.
Terry Kavner.
Here. Item 11A is consent docket. Receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Economic Development Authority meeting held December 17th, 2012.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis,
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes. Item 12. Consider adoption of resolution number 1013 of the trustees of the Moore Economic Development Authority, the authority, authorizing the issuance of its sales tax revenue note, Series 1213 Parks and Recreation Facilities Project, the note, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2 million for the purpose of financing the acquisition, construction, and equipping and/or remodeling of existing park and recreational facilities in the city of Moore, Oklahoma, capitalizing interest and paying certain legal and financing costs, waiving competitive bidding, and authorizing the note to be sold on a negotiated basis, ratifying, approving, and authorizing the execution of a security agreement between the city and the authority pertaining to the deposit and transfer of sales tax revenue, ratifying, approving, and authorizing the execution of a general indenture and a Series 2013 supplemental note indenture, which shall be referred to collectively as indenture, and which the indenture authorizes issuance and secures the payment of the note, providing that the declaration of trust as amended, creating the authority is subject to the provisions of said indenture, authorizing and directing the execution of the note and other documents relating to the transaction, authorizing employment of financial advisor and bond counsel to and bond counsel pertaining to said financing and containing other provisions relating thereto. You want me to repeat that?
You got it.
Sounded like the Bible.
Did you write this?
I apologize for that, Mr. Chairman, but I was just leaning over, whispered to Chris, we all live in fear of someone coming after us for not complying with open meeting and open records, and so we probably do a bit of overkill on the agenda item, but.
I wish I did.
This is, the structure on this is, as Chris mentioned, this will be like many of the other meeting notes we've done over the years. I think all of y'all may have participated in one, except maybe for Mark. Maybe Mark may haven't done one since Mark's been on the council. But this is a little bit different than the ones in the past. If you'll recall, the ones in the past had a pledge of utility revenues as well under that agreement of support we did with the Moore Public Works Authority. Well, on this financing, it's just going to be the 1/4 of 1% sales tax only. The banks were all comfortable with that, with the bids that Chris sent out, and so it'll be just a $2 million note due July 1, 2015. I think it's payable interest each January and July, commencing July 1, 2013, with principal payment being due at maturity on July 1, 2015. So, and the only security will be that 1/4 of 1% sales tax. And so, as Chris mentioned, we hope to have documents out on this. I kind of went ahead and did them since that's how knew we were going to structure it, and I just left it blank as to who the bank was. So I'm hoping to have documents out tomorrow to circulate. And so, assuming it's approved by the authority, then we probably could close by the first few days of February, possibly. So, be happy to answer any questions anybody may have. Or if you ever catch any typos in the resolution, let me know about those as well.
Hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any other questions, comments? Would you call the roll, please?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes. Item carries. This time we'll recess the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting and reconvene the city council meeting.
All right, thank you. Item 13 is new business. Let the record reflect that all the members that were present before are still present. Item A is a citizens forum for items not on the agenda. No one signed up to speak, but anyone like to? All right. Item B is items from the city council trustees. Anybody have anything?
They've been working over in the Crestmore addition on the streets. They are looking a lot better than what they were, so that's always exciting to see that portion of that sales tax being put to really good use. It's if you've had them in your neighborhood, it's really kind of funny how exciting it is. But we're glad to see them over there as well as other parts of our city.
They did a good job on this too. I went over and they did really good. And the neighbors are pretty happy over there too.
Yeah.
They really, they like that. So,
It's a very, I'd vote for that again.
Were we able to resolve anything with AT&T?
he's got good news.
I do.
They started moving the lines, right?
They have been working over there for some time now, and they've still indicating they will be out of there by the end of January, end of the month. That's what they've indicated to us, so.
Did we do any good as far as future? Or do we have a clue? All right.
We had the meeting the other day with Mark, that Mark was at, and we had a pretty good conversation with him, and we're fairly direct with him, I think, but the proof will be in the pudding in terms of what we do in the future. Time will tell.
Well, I just got a call last week on that project as why it was taking so long, and that's what made me think of the meeting. So I was just curious where
Something that I would suggest, I know Mr. Edie would not necessarily be in favor of this, but when we have either maybe adopting a city ordinance, when we have projects that are on these major thoroughfares to our city, especially like 12th Street, and we all know the issues that have been going. It's just crazy that it's taken so long that we adopt that we won't start that project until all the utilities removed. And I understand some of the concerns that you had about the delays and the construction costs, and it would be hard to schedule. But I would much rather 12th Street have been the way it was than for it to have been going on for so long and in such just horrible, horrible shape. But that's 12th Street, you know, that's not a side road. You know, people drive that, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands of cars every day, and it's just
I don't at
crazy.
all disagree with you in that regard, but if we do that and we literally do that, then there's some projects we might not ever be able to start because we don't have any direct control over these utilities. And so there's a give and take on these things. But we're well aware of the concerns that you and others legitimately have on the council as far as these projects. And I can assure you we'll have a very good feel for the utilities and the relocations before we let our next big one. The next big one will be the piece of Broadway over here from 5th up to 18th. I don't think we have as many problems with utilities over there as we did on 12th. But we're gonna make sure the best we can that we don't release that for construction until we know that the utilities are moved or will be moved in a timely manner.
Okay, great. And that's one other quick thing. Graffiti, is that citizen-driven, or do we, our code enforcement, if they see it, will they?
If they see it, they'll take care of it. Oftentimes, it's in locations where the code enforcement officer may not see it. If a citizen sees it, call code enforcement.
Okay.
Or our code enforcement officers, if they do see it, they'll.
Well, I saw some new stuff today, right off 27th, off around Yorkshire, so I'll send that to you, maybe somebody can go look at it.
No problem.
Okay, any other council members, trustees? Any items from, do what?
Nobody else wants to say anything?
Any items from the city council, or city manager?
Just a couple of items, Mayor. One thing is that the city has long given service pins to our employees for 5 and 10, 15, 20 years of service, and those pins have been given internally for all these years. But I thought I would start recognizing our department heads at least with their service pins at the city council meetings, if you all don't have any problem with that. So with that having been said, Deidre, you're first. Deidre Ebri is our Director of Marketing and Economic Development. You all might know Deidre. Deidre has been with us, believe it or not, for 10 years. Come up. And so it's my pleasure to give her this 10-year pin and thank her for her service to the city of Moore.
Can we do this again?
We'll do it again sometime. But if you recall, back now 10 years ago, or 11 or 12, when she was consulting for us, is when we kind of made the decision to move towards trying to get some retail development here. So we think with Deidre's and everybody's help that we've been fairly successful with that. So, and our second one is Richard Sandifer. If Richard, you'll come up here. Richard's a little bit of a unique character. In that, right there. I consider Richard a good friend. Richard is getting a 15-year pin, but he has been actually working for the city now as a city employee and then as a PSG employee back in those days for 28 years. So
You can get him another pin?
he probably already has a 15-year pin from before, don't you, or a 10-year maybe? So he's got all kinds of pins. But the employees that came back from PSG back when we started over with their seniority, whatever the decision was to do it back then. But in any event, he's been here for 28 years, but here's your 15-year pin. So very much appreciate his service as well to our community. Just wanted to mention, I think everybody got the information as far as the sales tax report for last month, that the original numbers came out at a little over 3%. And at the time, we wondered about that as to how that could be the case. And then as it turned out, there's some glitch that happened at the Oklahoma Tax Commission where many cities in Oklahoma, us included, were underpaid. And ours was to the tune of about $148,000. We got that money today or Friday?
Yes, today.
Today, actually, and the revised number on the sales tax report then for that month would be, administrative fee is 9.22%, and I forwarded that to you all, I think, by email. So that was much better for that would have been the Black Friday sales over the Christmas period. So was very happy to see that. Also, just want to remind folks in the audience out there that even though it's dead of winter, we are under an odd even water rationing because Oklahoma City is, and virtually everybody in the metro area is. I'm actually going to a meeting with the city of Oklahoma City and all the communities that are hooked into Oklahoma City water that are following these restrictions on Friday to find out what more Oklahoma City may or may not be doing, the status of their lakes and that sort of thing as a, and I'll give you more information about that, but it's serious. I don't know that it's critical yet, but it's serious out there. And our inspectors and folks will be watching out in the world, and this applies to all of our businesses and our residences out there. And so we'll be asking people for compliance with that if we need to. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else? If not, the next item is adjournment. Item 14.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All right. Thank you. Would you call for the vote, please?
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.